Okay, well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, wherever you may be in the world. I'm actually streaming in live from Penang, which is a beautiful island off the northwestern coast of Malaysia. So it's wonderful to be here, and it's wonderful to be celebrating being a woman and being a professional in this field of innovation. And thank you, Sandra, for a fantastic opening to this great conference. So welcome everybody. So what I want to really talk to you today about is the innovator's purpose. And I want to take you on a little bit of a journey. So let's go back a year. What happened a year ago? Well, the world changed beyond all recognition, and we all went into all different types of lockdowns around the world. Here in Malaysia, it was called the Movement Control Order, and we were shut up for 3 months, and we were only allowed out to go for essential services or for food. Now, at the end of that period of time, I can remember stepping out on the beach, and luckily I live in a beautiful place right on the sea, which is great. But I walked out on the beach and hadn't been allowed out there for a few months. And I was walking along the sand, and the sand was just pristine clean. And even the water was clean. There was no rubbish anywhere. And there was this, anyway, I was on the sea, there was this gorgeous pathway of light. And I stood into the sea. And when you go in the water, even if there is light shimmering, it starts to dissipate and it starts to sort of ripple around your feet and disappear. But what I was thinking about as I stood in the water was optimism and hope, and how important optimism and hope are to us as human beings, and how important they are in our evolution, in our development, in our change, in terms of progressing and moving us forward. Now, obviously, it's a year on, and we all thought, well, we'll probably all be out of this, within a few months. And here we are. We have now come out of our second lockdown here in Malaysia, not quite as stringent as the first, but still, we were locked up again for six or 7 weeks. And now, we're in this time of change where a lot of people are talking about, well, there's this new normal. But, the words new normal sort of when we say new normal, we think of sort of stasis, a sense of, that things are just really the same. And I think that actually the words new normal do not really help to inspire us or elevate us in any way about what world we can create. I think right now, actually, what we have is a great opportunity for change. We've plundered the earth, we've dominated it, we've created both the beauty and the mess that we are inhabiting. And now is the time really for us to really reflect on what we're doing, how we're living, and to write some new stories together, new collective stories together. I believe that innovation has always been human being survival skill throughout history. And now is another epoch. It's another time of change. And if we take the big picture that we're living within and our lives are right now, 2021, then we're in another epoch of change, another chance really to write a new story. So what is the innovator's purpose then within this time of change? I think part of it is, innovation isn't just all good, Just because we innovate doesn't necessarily mean that we're doing good things to the earth and to each other. So part of our purpose, particularly now, is to really question and to choose to challenge the assumptions and the outcomes of what it is we are creating. Innovating doesn't happen in a vacuum. It happens within a set of values. So it's really, really important that we start to think more about that, particularly as we're all trying to do things rapidly in order to survive through this time of change. And I think, when I have been talking to people around the world over this last year, I think that there are a lot of people, and you are included in this. You are thoughtful people. And I believe, we've been challenging our own assumptions, haven't we? We've been thinking about how we work. I know before the pandemic, I was constantly in airplanes, flying around the world, speaking, teaching, training, facilitating. I would go to Europe for a day and then fly back to Asia. Now I just think that is so mad. What mad behavior. So even when and if and when travel emerges again, I do not want that life. I do not want to go back to what I was before. So we are challenging the assumptions by which we live and work. So it's really about developing this new extraordinary. I think that is far more elevating, and it touches on those themes of hope and optimism, which we really do need in order to elevate our thinking, to think differently. And for us to be able to tell these new stories, to be able to sort of act as that bridge between where we are now and where we could be, to actually be able to unleash our imagination, to come up with new ideas, and not just to generate those ideas, but actually to bring them into the world with sustainable impact. So what is your story? Start to really think about what has shaped you, particularly through this last year, but also through the years previously. And think about the value that actually resides within you. Now, my domain of life, of work, that I really feel called to is this field of innovation. And in one form or another, I've worked in it for over 25 years. And I write, I speak, I consult in this field of innovation. Now, I think what's really interesting when we look at this time, this sort of epoch of history, is to think about the big picture of psychological change. A few years ago, I studied in Australia around the thinker, the social psychologist's work of Clare Graves. If you haven't come across him, I do recommend his work. Absolutely fascinating to take that big picture view of how our thinking evolves over time. Now, one of the key themes of his research is that human beings evolve, their psychology evolves as circumstances change. So there is like a marriage or a mapping between the life circumstances and the mind's capacity to think. And that's how we have sort of, developed and progressed along through our history, through our human journey. Now, obviously, up until the modern era, that was okay because things were slow. Whereas now it's very fast. Things are hitting us a lot faster, a lot of technological change, a lot of societal change, a lot of things coming at us. We're a bit like this guy with this umbrella with all these bricks flying. What's happened is that, in a sense, our life circumstances have changed faster than our human psychology. So we're a bit out of sync as a human species. I mean, some people are adapting well, but a lot of people aren't. And that is a big challenge. So what do we tend to do in these circumstances? A lot of the time we go back to what has worked for us in the past, and we think, well, okay, we know that worked then, so let's carry on with that. So we have this sense of regression going on, and I think we can see a lot of that, particularly over this last year. But in a time like now, living in and through a pandemic, we know that a lot of what got us to where we are is not going to take us into the future. So this actually could be, this crisis, if you like, could be an opportunity, a tipping point for human evolution, human consciousness. And I think this, but it's the innovation of the paradigm of which we think and how we work, how we live, how we interact. All of these are really ripe right now for innovation. And this is part of our purpose. this is part where I would really want to encourage you to really be thinking about how can you be on that evolving edge of change in whatever your work is in terms of your purpose. How can you align your own individual purpose to this bigger evolutionary purpose that is at play right now? So what I want to do today is, I hope, to inspire you a little bit to be thinking around these things. And I'm going to take you through a model that I've invented called the 6 Eyes of Innovation, as really as a journey map for you to help you navigate uncertainty and change, and to think about how you can step with courage into higher levels of leadership with your life. It's all about really bringing together, thinking about the purpose with regards to the impact of our work, and bringing all of our skills, all our strengths, the value that we have, and actually being able to harness it behind that which we are interested in. So let me just give you a very short potted history of a little bit of my own story, because that'll give you a bit of context to why I invented this and why I feel that this is really important right now for helping people around the world to have purpose-driven, purpose-centered innovation. So I started my adult life, if you like, in the NGO sector. I worked in Manila, in Smoky Mountain, in the slums of Smoky Mountain, and also in Bogota in Colombia with street children. And there I took 5 years out. It was meant to be a year, after A-levels, going off and doing a bit of travel, but it turned into 5 years. And the 5 years of change, of traveling around the world. So what happened was I got very, very interested in politics and economics, as you would as a young adult, seeing what you do see and what you're exposed to from, a nice middle class upbringing. And I went back to England and I studied politics and worked in Parliament as a parliamentary speechwriter. I then went on and did my master's degree in development economics and social psychology. And it was there actually that I met a professor who really switched my thinking on to the power of business for transformation and for change. And I started to work in the field of innovation, both as a corporate innovator and also as an entrepreneur. Sorry, everyone. Anyway, after working in sort of all this sort of consultancy area around looking at new technologies, I had a couple of corporate roles working as an innovation director, and I was a design thinking facilitator. And it was there really that I started to question, why was it that ideas got stuck? And a lot of the reasons that I found were really due to people issues, leadership. They were to do with culture, more of these sort of intangible things. And so I went in search of models, and I was looking for different models, and I came across more sort of linear style type models, which are very much about sort of, product development or research and development focus. And there's nothing wrong with these models, but actually when we think about innovating, it's all about us being able to harness skills and capabilities and people to be able to work together. So in the absence of models, as an innovator, I created the 6 Eyes of Innovation. And the 6 Eyes of Innovation has these 6 different circles around it with the different elements of the stages that ideas go through. And you can see that purpose is the center. And I'm going to take you through them in a moment, because I want you to be thinking about your own purpose and your own skills around this. So I codified the whole research that I did in a book called Yes, You Can Innovate that was published a couple of years ago. So let me take you through the 6 Eyes. And as I do, I'd like you to be thinking about your own skill set, your own strengths. So let's start with identify. So identify is really, well, that's all, the blue expanse. When you think of identifying, it's all about opportunity. It's about the ability to be able to see over the horizon. And identifiers, the people who are good at this, are usually forward thinkers, quite strategic. They're good at making sense of trends and patterns. That color blue with the mindset of curiosity. And then we have ignite, and ignite is when we get the solutions for things. It's when we come up with ideas and we're able to generate new solutions. And ignite has the mindset of creativity, and it's the color red. Then we have investigate, and investigate is that sort of a teal blue color. It's sort of that cool blue. It's when we test and prototype and research ideas. And the investigators amongst us, that's what you're good at. You know, you're really good at taking things apart with a more of a critical mindset. Then we have invest, and it's the color green, often associated with money, but also green light and go. And investors amongst us are good at influencing. They're good at resourcing, of actually taking a concept and moving it forward into reality. Then we have implement, and it has that mindset of commitment. Purple. Purple, because purple actually historically was the hardest color to make. And this is the good at implementing innovation, are absolutely required to make an idea work. Absolutely essential. Team building, partnership building, getting the right things in place, managing, organizing, very different skills to the igniters and the identifiers, for example. And then we have the improve stage. The improve, which is orange, it's that glow. You know, when you look at something and you think about how you can improve it, how you can make it better, and it has that mindset of being clever. So all of these 6 I's are interlocked with purpose, and purpose is center, and that's really what we're talking about today. Of course, we could use a model like this and any type of innovation could be generated from it, but we don't want that. We want to use a model to help us develop things that are actually going to have impact, sustainable impact on people and on the planet around us. So have a think about yourself. And think about what's inside of you, the value really that is inside of you, all of your skills, your strengths, your experiences, everything that you have inside of you that is radiating outside of you. If you were to pick one of these I's and as your strength, what would it be? Have a reflect on that, because it's a really important question. I would say play to your strengths. Don't waste time trying to be well-rounded and good at everything. Play to your strengths and actually harness all that value that you have behind the domain that you are interested in. So how do we do this? How do we step into courageous leadership with this purpose, with our strengths and the capabilities that we have to offer the world right now? I love this picture, you know, of this young person coming out of a box. You know, it's that whole sense of, you know, we talk about let's get out of the box and thinking out of the box, but what is the box? The box is your perception. The box is your worldview. It's your psychological frame. And for us to burst out of that and to actually have an expansive mind and find and research the domain that we are most interested in, that we're most passionate about, is really, really important right now. Maybe you've already know it. You probably know it if you feel a tug inside of you towards something. It could be medicine or science. It could be law. It could be politics. It could be aspects of sustainability. It could be any domain, but it's all these domains need innovation. They need fresh thinking. They need new ways and reimagining. So find your domain and harness all that value that's inside of you behind it. Secondly, really understand the people that are around you, the people that are on the journey with you, because we are all looking for inspiration. We're all looking for people to help elevate our own emotional state so that we can have the energy to be able to face challenges, to face all the difficulties that are thrown at us through life. And I believe as leaders, we need to be able to hold the gap between where we are now and where things are evolving to be like a sense maker and a bridge builder. So really get to know the people. And thirdly, find out your innovation strengths. Discover your innovation strengths. Mine, I am an identifier and igniter, so probably no surprises there, given the type of work that I have been drawn to over my life. But it's around sort of understanding what your strengths are and actually aligning those to the purpose that you feel is calling you. So what is your story? And I just really want to end with just a call out, really, in terms of thinking about these different elements, these different strengths. So when we think of the identifier, if you are an identifier, please use your imagination right now to imagine the future, the possibility of who and what we can become. Really use your strengths there. If you're not using your strengths there and you know you're good at it, please turn around and be that identifier and take us with you. If you are an igniter, please use your skills, use your strengths to come up with solutions and new ways of working, new ways of thinking. Inspire us with your energy. Take us with you on that journey. If you are an investigator, please use your critical mindset, your ways of being dispassionate and objective and being able to look at ideas to see if they're going to work. We need you. We need that strength. If you are an investor, please step in your courage and resource back. Team, get everything together to help the best ideas that are going to change the world. Back them with your influence. And if you are an implementer, we need you. We need your commitment, your hard work, your ability to build teams, your ability to lead, your ability to organize people and resources. Please implement great innovations. And if you are an improver, you're great at looking at what already exists and what it could be. With that clever mindset, please step into that. We need you. So it's these 6 eyes all flowing together, the energy, the dynamism of collaboration, centered around purpose for people, for planet, and for performance. So I will end now and just say, please step into your courage, step into your leadership, step into a bigger you with conviction and with hope and with optimism, and choose to challenge and create an extraordinary world. Thank you, everybody. And sorry for the backgrounds not working, but I hope you got the essence.
Thank you so much, Natalie. That was really, really inspiring. And I really appreciate you being here with us today and sharing all of this wisdom with us. And I can only really echo that to you guys. I stepped into this role of head of sustainability, and it's just been so rewarding. And I've developed so much as a person just in these last year and a half. So I can really, really encourage you, please do something that you feel passionate about and something that you actually want to do. It is worth it for you, and it is definitely worth it for the world as well. So let's see if we have some questions. So basically, we got a comment here. She said for the picture that with the box on it, for me, it's like he is being sucked inside the box, his fingers leaving scratch marks, while the system, for example, of education and society sucks him in. So I thought that was an interesting observation that Bettina made.
Well, actually, it does feel a bit like that, doesn't it? But, you know, if we're trying to innovate, we are on the evolving edge of whatever it is we're choosing to work within. And sometimes it's like you're being pulled back in because, you're daring to challenge, aren't you? You're challenging the status quo of what already exists. So, yeah, I think that's quite an interesting way of looking at it.
I agree. Let's see what else we have here. So if our strength is identify, how can we motivate others with our ideas? Some people are not ready to be challenged.
Yes, absolutely. Being an identifier, I identify with that. I think often what can happen with the identifier skill set is they are usually a bit over the head of the mainstream. You know, that's their skill set, isn't it? And so you have to sort of learn how to take what you can see and package it in a way and communicate. That's why I said at the end, you've really got to understand where people are at and where their thinking is, so that you can help evolve, even if it's just some small changes. You may well see way down that line about what could be, but it might be too far and too out there for most people. I think even this field of innovation, I've been working in it for many, many years, it still feels relatively new. When I go and talk to companies, I still feel like, man, you know, you talk about managing innovation, you talk about innovation culture, you talk about all the innovation leadership, people are like sort of looking at you and they don't really know what you're talking about. So I do understand that. And I think that it is about really understanding where the pain is of people and helping them identify where the opportunity could be from where they are right now, and how you can help move them and act as that bridge builder between the two.
Absolutely.